Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. In round about 8 hours, we do have the league start, the 322 Trial of the Ancestors, and I'm hyped. And I really hate this, like, the Thursdays before league start. It's always like I sleep like 2 hours because it's like I'm a little kid that is just waiting for Christmas for all the presents and all that kind of thing. So I slept like probably 2 hours. Yeah, still doesn't matter. Just a funny side info. 8 hours until league start. Today I want to talk about my early Atlas passive tree, my ways of thinking, and how do I think I'm gonna do it to have like a smooth transition from like the early maps, the white maps, to yellow to red tier maps, to get all the void stones, unlocking all the favorite map slots, and so on and so forth. So if you head over to like max roll, you click on like Path of Exile, you go into tools, and then you see here the Atlas passive tree. So here you can like play around with the Atlas tree as much as you want without spending any orbs to reset your tree, which is kind of not bad, right? And when it comes to the Atlas passive tree, it's always like the same thing. You need to, there's only one single thing you need to know. I know this looks like very intimidating, especially for new players, and they're like, bro, I have no clue what I'm doing here. But in the end of the day, it's a very simple concept, and the only thing you need to know is, what do I want to do? What do I want to achieve? You know, it's like similar if you have like a super fast car and you're traveling with like 200 miles per hour. I don't know. But if you don't know where you're going, then it's completely like whatever, you know. So the only thing you need to know early on is, what do I want to do? Is there any specific league mechanic that you want to do? Is there any farming strategy you're following? Do you want to like blast up legions? Do you want to farm blinds? Do you want to farm expeditions? And so on and so forth. For me personally, the first thing that I always do every single league is clearing the Atlas. That means unlocking every single bonus objective, getting all my void stones, getting all my favorite map slots, doing all of that kind of things. And then it's about to like, okay, now I can specifically target one league mechanic that I would like to play. Especially when it comes to map sustain early on, it's quite hard to get all the maps going, but once you have like all the void stones, when you have unlocked everything and you're grinding your tier 16 maps, then all of a sudden like a week later you have like hundreds of tier 16 maps laying around for you to play, but in the start it's a bit more rough. So that means, what is the first thing I want to do is getting map sustain. So if I type in here map, or at least like, let's say shaping, there are like a couple of, it used to be 4, it's like shaping the mountains, shaping the skies, shaping the valley and whatnot. I think shaping the valley is what they removed this league. But as you see, there are 3, besides like this shadow shaping here, there are 3 big nodes that give me maps to be a chance that maps are dropping higher, and like a higher chance of dropping connected maps and so on. So these are the first things that I'm looking out for. So we're gonna go over here and just straight away scaling into shaping the mountains. The next thing that I would do is getting the other side. And instead of like specking all the way over here, Maxroll does that already. If I just click on shaping the skies, it says like, oh, why don't you use this gateway over here to save like a lot of points. So there's like a pretty cool development tool over here. So we got our first, let's say, map sustain node or cluster here. We go the gateway, and we go to the other side and get it over here as well. Then we're just gonna simply travel around the circle here and get the next part, especially also like the small nodes, because they also have maps have 1% higher, or at least 5% chance to be 1 tier higher. Once we unlock these 3, then I usually go down here, because this is like a new cluster here with a new keystone, the 7th gate and stuff like that. But what I'm interested in are the small nodes over here. Maps found have 5% chance to be 1 tier higher. So what I'm gonna do is just travel around here. The keystones that I'm allocating here, it's something I don't really use, right? But I need to do that because it just saves points. Here I'm skilling 1 keystone that is kind of useless for me right now, but it saves points, because if I go the other way, I'm losing like 2 points, or at least 1 point over here, right? So just like for making it better overall. So this is basically my core, let's say, starting Atlas. So I have all the shaping things here, all the map sustain, a bunch of like quant over here, as well as even more map sustain, or at least chance to drop maps higher and stuff like that, chance to drop connected maps. The next thing I usually do is blocking every league mechanic. This is something I really enjoy to do, and since Path of Exile gives me the tools, I'm usually just doing that. Now you might wonder, why would you block every league mechanic? Well, like, what is the point of that, right? This is like a personal thing for me. This is just the way I play the game. If I go into a map and I see a Legion Stone, 100% I'm going to click on that. If I see a Blight, I'm let's say most likely going to play it, you know, because Blight is not like my favorite thing to do. But if there is a breach, if there is any kind of content, I always do that. And this is something I figured out for myself. This is just the way the player I am. I try to clear all the maps. I do every side content, whatever it is, right? So the problem with that is, in my opinion, since we do have the Atlas passive tree now, it feels like every league mechanic that you're not specialized in, you know, is kind of like useless. For example, if I have a Legion Stone, Legion is always great, but Legion would be like way better if I spec into every single Legion node. So it feels like, for me personally, a wasted time if I play leak content that I haven't spec'd into, right? So that's what I usually do, is block out everything, so I don't really have to worry about stuff popping up. So I'm like more effective at like actually pushing the maps and doing as many maps per hour to yeah, get my Atlas done, right? The next thing I do is, usually now would be the point where you say like, I need to pick a league mechanic, or I should pick a league mechanic to actually make some currency. But I'm just a bit different here. I want to pick stuff on the Atlas passive tree that gives me an easier time mapping. One thing that does that perfectly is shrines. Like speed shrines, damage reduction shrines, whatever it is, additional monsters in the map, it's going to speed up my process in mapping. So what I'm doing here is, next step, I'm just picking all the shrine nodes on the tree, which will, yeah, give me just a better experience here. So first is just mapping. Then it's, if you want to, blocking league mechanics. Third would be picking up shrines. And the next thing is, now with like 67, I should be somewhere at like the yellow tier map, starting to do high tier maps. The next thing I do usually is this one over here, the Conquered Conquerors. Kind of a weird note. What that does is, every time I kill the map boss, I have a chance to drop a Conqueror map, an Elder or Shaper map, a synthesized map. I'm following this like, I wouldn't really say boss rush strategy, but this is like a few points that always gonna sustain me with a bunch of Guardian maps, especially early on. I think every Minotaur map, like even late in the league, they go for like 10 chaos apiece. You know, maybe even sometimes more, the fragments for Shaper and stuff like that. So this is like a very good passive sustain. I'm dropping like, probably like about, I would say 5 to 10 Cortex a league and stuff like that. It doesn't really sound a lot in the terms of a league, but you know, hundreds of Guardian maps just by like mapping. And since early on, I'm mapping non-stop. I'm not interested in like too much side content. I just want to like grind my maps, do all the passives and whatnot. And as soon as you get like T14, you just gonna get like a lot of like sustain. That's why I spec into that quite late on, when I actually be able to drop that. For example here, this only occurs on T14 plus and stuff, you know. Good. So now we have our maps, our shrines, our conquerors, or at least like map drop. We should be like somewhere at the high tier now, T14 plus, trying like in the upper side. And now it's about two things. Either you say like, hey, I want to try out this new Maven Keystone, for example, where you say like, oh, there's like additional chances to get a boss going, or at least up to 3 bosses, because I think if you're fighting a map boss and Maven summons like 3 additional, so you have fighting 4 map bosses, all of these 4 map bosses will probably be affected by the Conqueror, Shaper, Elder, and synthesized map drops, which will give me some even more passive income. Or you could say, hey, it's time for farming Searing Exarch, or Eater of Worlds, whatever. So if you're gonna go right side, you go right side. If you want to go Searing Exarch, you're gonna go down over here and pick up all these like Searing Exarch nodes. I probably early on will try out the destructive play, just to see how that feels like, especially with like the Guardian drops and stuff like that. But most likely, I'm gonna do Searing Exarch, because I think Searing Exarch is dropping more overall currency than the Eater of World does. The Eater of World does have the Divine Orb Shrine, so there's always like, do you want to play like risky? And honestly, I think last league I had like 2 Divine Orb Shrines, the league before I had 1 Divine Orb Shrine, so they do exist, they're just very rare. But thinking about getting a Divine Orb Shrine like after like 5 days of the league start, and I get like 15 or 20 Divines, this would like boost my league start insanely. If it doesn't happen, yeah, well, then it's probably gonna happen when I'm already having like pretty decent gear, or maybe it's gonna happen, maybe it's not gonna happen. But as far as I know, the Searing Exarch overall gives you more currency, just like less worthy currency, but like a lot more. You know, on the Searing, on the Eater of Worlds, you're really looking for this like kind of divine shrine. Good. So as I said, either now you can pick like one of the 3 endgame things, like either Searing Exarch, Maven, or the Eater of Worlds, or you say like, I mean, it's time to do the first, what do you say, leak content, you know? And what I'm doing usually is Delirium, because Delirium is something that gives like very nice sustain of like all kinds of currency, because there is like not specific, it is an in-map mechanic, and I want to map anyways. But all the Deli orbs and stuff like that, you can just bulk them up, and they will always sell for like, I don't know, 10 chaos a piece, no matter which kind of Delirium orb it's going to be, because you can still like reforge them in Harvest to get the one that you're looking for, whether it's currency or scarabs or whatever, right? So even the useless ones are worth something, because you can like convert them. So let's say I'm picking Delirium here, and then I'm gonna do Stream of Consciousness, because early on, I'm not using any of my maps, you know, I don't care. I just want to run my maps, get the bonus objectives going, and so on and so forth. But with the Stream of Consciousness, I'm getting more chances of getting the Deliriums, because I blocked out every single other node. So if we check for Delirium, where are all my Delirium nodes? 4 is over here, then we can pass over here. This, I don't really think this is like too great, because it stops Delirium Orbs and Simulacrum Splinters to drop, and I think Delirium Orbs overall is like very nice when it comes to the, yeah, passive income, right? Then we have like a bunch of things over here. I'm not too worried about like this kind of nodes, because it's like higher chance of unique bosses, and they drop more splinters, so they drop like 20 splinters or something. I think this is like not too necessary in my opinion. And then we have like some more over here. I think this one is Delirium Orbs, and the upper one is Cluster Jewels. Cluster Jewels are not bad. They can always be very cool, but you need like higher tier content to actually get some good ones. So I'm opting in here just for the Deli Orbs. And here the same thing. We have Delirium reward types in your maps get +1 on completion, which is like very, very strong. And the other one is Exile with Simulacrum Splinters. This would be like more of a strategy when you do like tropical islands and stuff like that. I'm not too worried about the splinter size, especially since the past couple of leaks were not that good when it comes to the price of Simulacrum. Good, now we're here picking all like the Delirium Orbs or Delirium nodes that I want to personally do, or it's gonna be like Legion or Expedition, whatever you want to do. Just pick one and you're good for it. And now it's still like the question, what do we do? I think early on, as I said, I'm gonna try out this like destructive play, but later on it's definitely gonna be like the Searing Exarch thingy with a double progression, the keystones, and so on and so forth. And then we have 1 pound point over, I think, and I guess it's just gonna be like a quantity node or something. But this would be the general Atlas passive tree for me. My goal, finish the Atlas as soon or as good as possible. Don't waste your time. As I said, I'm speaking for myself here, right? I don't want to waste my time doing unnecessary leak content that I haven't spec'd into. So map sustain, blocking, side content, and then I want to say like, hey, I want to speed up my mapping without playing any further leak mechanics. So I'm going for shrines. Shrines is always nice. Then once I'm going into higher tier maps, I'm going to enable my 3 additional drops from like Conqueror maps, Shaper and Elder maps, as well as like synthesized maps. Then I say like, okay, I want to pick at least one leak mechanic that I want to play. I decided to go for Delirium. So I'm picking Stream of Consciousness, get all the Delirium nodes, and in the end of the day, once you're like somewhere in the late game, then you can pick up like any of the like Searing Exarch, Eater of Worlds, whatever you want to do. I'm gonna link you this passive tree in the description below. Let me know what you guys are up to, and yeah guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching. I hope everyone has a wonderful league start. I hope we're not gonna have any kind of like server shutdowns and like we had this in the past, like terrible league starts when it comes to like the server capacity and stuff. So I hope this is not gonna be a problem this time. I hope we're gonna get a lot of new players coming from like Diablo 4. So be nice to them, and yeah, see you in the next video.